Please welcome CEO and founder of Mobilium Global Limited, Ralph Simon, along with Shelly Finkel.
Shelly, I thought we'd start this off by going back in history to show when you, some of the things you used to do before you changed your skin in various forms to become someone who today is touching the very, very future of the business that is vital to everybody here in this audience. So let's just pull up, let's take a look at this here. This goes back to 1973. It's Watkins Glen. It's the biggest ever live event in the United States. 600,000 people, amazing. 600,000, bigger than Woodstock. So just to give you an idea, and that's 40 years ago. That's the crowd. Just look at that, amazing. Remember that, Shelly?
Very well. Let me give you a little background on that and also how I feel the world goes around. I was in Utica, New York, and a week or two before in Connecticut, we had a Grateful Dead show, and the Allman Brothers came up and jammed with them. I said, this would be some big show. So I called the Watkins Glen Grand Prix racetrack, and I said to the owner, I'd like to come up and meet with you about doing an event up here. He says, come on up, kid. So I go up there, and I said, how much is the most people you've ever had for a race? He said, 100,000. I said, I'm going to do more than that. He said, sure. So he said, what do you want to pay me? And the lowest number I could think of without insulting him was 25,000. He said, I'll take it. So now, it's 2 weeks before my event and the day before his event. It's the Can-Am race. I'm up there. I said, how you doing tomorrow? He says, great, I've sold 25,000 tickets. I said, oh, I guess that's good. He says, well, you're 2 weeks away. How many have you sold? I said, about 150,000. He looked at me, didn't believe me. Now, it's the week and a half before the event, and the area, it has 8,000 residents, and I think we have 5,000 people camping in the town already. And they're on people's lawns, they're from everywhere. And we didn't have social media, just word of mouth spread. Now, it's 4 days before the event, the State Department comes in and said, Shelly, you're supposed to have 1,000 portable johns here. You only have 960. I can't let you open. I said, you must be kidding. So I called Portage Sand, and I said, we're going to be out of business if we don't get these 40 johns here. He said, there's no more in New York State. I said, what about Jersey? He said, we got every one of those. I said, find them somewhere. They found them in Pennsylvania and Ohio. And on the mountain that you see them coming over the ridge on these flatbeds, as they get close, you hear noise. So we start opening the johns to see what the noise is. Kids had gotten into the johns to sneak into the show early. So now, it's Friday, and if you see, well, I don't know if you can see, but there's this big overhead of the site, and the only way you can really get any estimate is 10,000 people an acre, a military helicopter flies over, takes a picture, and estimates how many people. So I'm with Henry, who owns and runs the track. It's Friday afternoon. He said, Shell, I think everyone's here. I said, what do you mean? He says, 250,000 people here already. I said, I don't think you have half the crowd. He said, what? I said, people haven't gotten out of work. It's Friday. He stands up. I think he's in shock. He looks at me and says, I think I believe anything you say. He walked off, and I didn't see him for the rest of the event. That's some of the Watkins Glen stories.
Okay, so here you are with this incredible crowd. We moved to, just last year, this is Stereosonic in Australia. And the reason I wanted to just juxtapose these two images is to show that your career has always been involved in audience growth, big audiences, and in fact, it got you involved in the boxing business for 30 years. You were very centrally involved in the boxing business. You were Manager of the Year twice. You're in the Boxing Hall of Fame. You managed great fighters like Mike Tyson before the tattoo and after the tattoo, and clearly had to learn about, some managers talk about difficult artists. There can be no more difficult artist to manage or to work with than Mike Tyson, and someone who was completely different to him would have been this gentleman here, who...
Manny Pacquiao, who I handled this. I'll tell you a funny story with Manny.
Yeah.
We're in the
world champion.
Multi-world champion.
Multi-world champion.
He is God in the Philippines. There's no other sports, there's no other teams, there's no soccer, no basketball. He is it. He drew larger crowds when he won the title than when Marcos was walking. He was it. So one of the fights, instead of giving me a check, he gives me $250,000 in cash. I said, Manny, please take the money back. Yeah, I'm not going to get out of your country alive. He said, oh, no, don't worry, everyone knows you. I said, no one knows me, everyone knows you. So it's in cellophane. I called my wife. I said, call some of our banks, see if I can get it put in there. They won't take it. They think you're laundering money. I said, oh, that's great. So now he has a security force around him, policemen. I said, well, why don't you take me to the airport? He said, we're not allowed to. Manny said, you got to go alone. I said, oh, God. So I take this money in this cellophane. I cut the cellophane open. I spread the money in my laundry, and I'm hoping I don't get killed walking through customs. I pull up to customs. Guy looks at me, says, oh, you're Manny Pacquiao's guy. Go through. I breathe easy. I come to the U.S. in L.A. I have to declare it. I show him. He says, where'd you get $250,000 in cash in the Philippines? I said, from Manny Pacquiao. He says, who the F is that? And that is symptomatic of the difference in cultures and in stardom. When I was in London with Tyson, he bought $2 million worth of diamonds, and the world knew it. He is flying back through Phoenix. I'm flying back through New York. Customs stops me, goes through my bags, everything. Everyone's gone. They keep going. I said, what are you looking for? He says, we think you're smuggling in Tyson's jewels. I said, go finish. I'm not doing anything. I called Mike that night. I said, Mike, when you went through Phoenix, where did you put the jewels? He said, I was wearing them on me. So I said, did you get stopped? He says, only for autographs. It's a little different when you're Mike Tyson.
Well, at least they didn't stop you for your Filipino escapade, but here's another shot. Of course, that's when things turn a little different with Mike. That's obviously not a real picture, although there was an incident, something similar to that. Got milk, got ear, and now this takes you to a new era in your career after 30 years of managing boxers and having unbelievable success. World champions, developing 60, 70, 80 boxers of that highest level. You get taken to a whole new way of thinking. And if I can just use a quote, which was actually cited by that gentleman there who was the feature of the Billboard cover story, Bob Silliman, a very brilliant entrepreneur that you'd known for many, many years, going back to the days when he'd assembled a fleet of radio stations across America. And he had said, there's a global generational movement driven by a rapidly developing community of avid followers among the millennial generation. And this is all built around electronic dance music, the whole notion of social media and modern technology, modern mobile technology, modern communications amongst young people. What made you decide to get involved with Bob?
Well, I believe the world goes around and it comes back. In 1968, I'm at the Boston Garden. I go up to the head of the Boston Garden. I said, I'd like to bring a show here. And he probably was as old as I am now. And he said to me, who do you want to bring? I said, Jimi Hendrix. He says, Jimi Hendrix? Never heard of him. He says, do you think he'll do business? I said, I think he'll do very well. Go forward. 2010, I'm in Los Angeles with some people, and the fellow on the right of me says, you know, I manage Deadmau5. And I said, who's that? So he said, why don't you come with us tonight to Electric Daisy? And I'm saying, oh, that's great. I'm going to a club tonight. So I get to the LA Coliseum, and there's 85,000 people there, and I said, this is amazing. How do I not know about this? So I'm walking around, and all these young girls are coming over to me. You're so cool at your age being here. And I'm saying, I didn't even know I was coming. So I realized at that moment, many of the promoters of electronic music were promoters of raves and garages and warehouses, and it grew. And it became too big to do there. But the proper disciplines and the things to really make it grow, they did not know. And I saw this as a great opportunity to put together this whole disparate group. And I approached Bob Silliman and I said, this is the next big opportunity. He agreed. And we've gone from the US across the world, picking up and putting together the best and biggest festivals in the world. At the top of it, of course, is Tomorrowland in Belgium, which they had in 12. They went online and they had 90,000 tickets to sell at 60,000 a day for 3 days. Half have to be sold in Belgium, half to the rest of the world. And anyone who goes online to buy a ticket can buy 4. They had 2 million requests, which is really 8 million, for the 90,000 tickets. It broke 6 servers on Amazon. It just crashed it. So now we take pre-orders and we do a lottery system. And this year it's doing 2 weekends, and that sold out the same way, 360,000 tickets. And we also bought Rock in Rio, which is a similar one, which I believe is the biggest festival in the world.
That's 1 million people on the beach at Copacabana.
Not really. They do it in town, and they do it for 7 days straight, and it's 100,000 people a day.
So I just want to take you through a timeline since 2012, when Bob had decided to get into this area. First of all, he buys Disco Donnie Presents in Miami.
Yes, Disco is part Miami out of New Orleans.
Then in February 2013, you buy Beatport, very important platform for dance music and distribution of dance music.
It's the #1 platform for DJs to get mixes and to remix.
In March 2013, you buy ID&T, the Belgian company that has Tomorrowland, Mysteryland. Then you also buy a German company called Nature One that has Sensation in Germany, a big platform event in Germany. In June, you file for a NASDAQ offering. There you are seen there alongside your colleagues, and the fellow in the black T-shirt on the left of the picture is Afrojack, great DJ from Holland.
Yep.
But you then file for a NASDAQ offering. The listing is picked up brilliantly well. In October, you buy a company called Totem One Love in Australia that has Stereosonic and also looks at developing in Asia and the markets across Asia Pacific. In November of 13, you buy iMotion, which is basically Electric Zoo.
No, that is Made, which is Electric Zoo in New York.
I beg your pardon, Electric Zoo.
Right.
Quite correct. But then in December of last year, you develop a global partnership with Anheuser-Busch to develop a whole new way. You buy a ticketing company called PayLogic, or 75% of it at any rate. And in January, you set up a joint collaboration with Clear Channel, and you set up with Simon Cowell separately a national DJ competition, a global DJ competition. So with all of these things, plus Rock in Rio, plus you buy a stake in certain nightclubs in Miami, some hot clubs, LIV, Sun Live, Story. This is now a massive undertaking.
Right.
And how do you keep up with the pace of all of this?
I don't. You actually missed a bunch, but we won't get into it. The management company that we purchased, the joint venture with Simon Cowell is actually going to be Ultimate DJ, which is a DJ contest and is similar to American Idol, which he created. We are going to announce in the next couple of weeks some major sponsorships, but we don't call them sponsors, it's partnerships. They are going to be involved with everything we do across the globe, in every market, bringing the culture and the music to the environment. This is a different thing than music was before. Before, you'd listen to a radio, you'd hear a song, or a friend would recommend it. Today, the kids grow up, they're connected, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, or whatever social media they use, and they know everything, and they know it before anyone else. We have some company, one of them is Monster Cat, they have some algorithms, they're able to find artists that are trending before Beatport even knows it.
Wow.
And also,
It's amazing.
It's beyond amazing. And it's a different culture than I knew. When one of them says, we love people to steal our stuff, I said, I would have killed them if they did. It's a totally different thing. And they also are able to find when artists that they have are trending in different markets. And this is very important for beginning of an artist's career. If you're a club owner, you want to know which artist in your market will draw 200, 300, 400 people, so you can put them on a show and build them where they will be important later.
It's amazing. So there's been one disappointment, though, in all of this rapid growth, consolidation, building a global profile, where there was a company that you guys tried to buy, Insomniac, that has Electric Daisy, that you were just beaten on that, or not so much beaten, but they decided to go with Live Nation rather than yourselves.
Right.
They usually attract 345,000 people to their events.
Right.
But that doesn't stop any of your onward flow and go in this process, because it's a big global world. The electronic dance music culture is really now manifesting at a fast rate pretty much everywhere.
You're correct. I don't know if I am these days, close with Pasquale. It's a love-hate, it goes back and
Pasquale
forth.
Rotella?
Yes, he's the owner, founder of Electric Daisy. The company's name is Insomniac. 2 years ago, when I first got friendly with him, he said to me, would you want to buy my company? I said, sure, how much? He says, 30 million. I said, okay. He says, nah, I don't want to sell it. I said, okay. I said, why don't we do something else? He said, what do you have in mind? I said, let's do a vodka, call it Electric Daisy Vodka. He said, I love that. I said, when do you start? He said, nah, I don't want to do it. I said, okay. I said, I got one other great one for you. He says, what's that? I said, instead of an energy drink, let's do a nightlife drink. We'll call it Insomniac, Stay Awake with Us. He said, that's great. Let's do it. I said, okay. He said, what do you want to do? I said, I'll put up the money. I'll be your partner. I'll create it. Nah, I don't really want to do it. So at that point, I realized I wasn't going to make a deal with him. So I said, let's be friends. We'll go a different way. And we ended up with Disco Donnie, who was the one who actually started Insomniac across the U.S. And from there, we built out. And during that time, had several meetings with Pasquale. Last time I saw him was in January. And I said, you and I should be working closer together. And he said, I'm doing okay. I said, but I'm doing a couple of things you're not going to be happy with me about. And I think we should work together. He says, like what? I said, we just bought your ticketing company. He said, oh. He said, that's okay. So I'm not sure if he's upset with me these days or not, but that's my relation with Pasquale.
So I thought I'd show a picture of you here with Pete Tong, a great DJ, well known all over the world. How many of you here are familiar with Pete Tong and his work? A few of you, certainly very well known. He's obviously interrogating you there about your dance cred,
Right.
seeing how credible you are. Of course, very, very credible indeed.
I won him over.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, he's a
What
good friend.
won him over?
My personality. No. We spent time talking. He realized that my intent is to make the space better and bigger, not to rape it.
Right.
And over time, him and I have become pretty close.
Fantastic. Now, here's a shot of yourself. That yellow mic that you're holding, can't really see in this picture, but this is in Amsterdam, in Holland, in the Netherlands, in Europe. And if you can see on the yellow microphone, it says ADE. How many of you here are familiar with ADE? One lady, oh my God, you guys are not hip enough. ADE is the Amsterdam Dance Event, the most important annual gathering in the world for dance music other than Ibiza, which you're going to in a couple of weeks' time, right?
It is, but ADE dwarfs everything. I think there was 400,000 people there, and on Saturday night they had 84 separate events, and I don't mean small events. One was Afrojack, another one was Calvin Harris, another one was Allman Brothers and Hardwell, Get It. It was all over the city. It's the dance capital, maybe the party capital of the world.
And it's also where they announced the winners of the world's top DJs amongst the real professionals. Very, very important.
Correct. DJ Magazine announced Hardwell being the #1 DJ in the world.
So Shelly, going back to Watkins Glen, your involvement with bands like Vanilla Fudge and Mountain and
Things that none of you know. Go on.
going through the boxing business where you're dealing with some of the biggest crowds in the world to come and see your fighters that you've groomed. And now you're in this area which is so hot. It is so hot. The fire alarm that was on here before we came on was when we were talking outside in the green room.
Yep.
That must have been the reason for setting off the fire alarm. I mean, this is really incredible. Here you are, literally at the controls of this incredible movement on a global basis. What is your prospect looking forward? I mean, obviously you're optimistic about it. Your share price is dependent upon that. But if you had to take your crystal ball with all the inside knowledge you have, if you take a 12 to 18-month view, what would you say one could look towards in this space?
It's hard to say, but let me give you an example. This coming Memorial Day, we have our first Mysteryland, which will do very well. But an interesting one is Somerset, and it's in Tampa. It started in 2012, one-day event. The first year we did 8,000 people. Last year, 2013, we did 22,000 people one day.
Well,
Now, we go to a two-day event. So where people before would say, I don't want to take a trip for Saturday to go travel this distance for one day, but now it's a two-day event. So instead of it going from 22 to 30 thou, it's going to do over 30 thou a day for 2 days. It'll be over 60 thou. And now we're questioning, should we try to do 80 a day next year? Should we go to a third day? And this is the trajectory of the event. And the most important thing to me is the safety of my fans, not my personal fans, but the fans that come to our event, and the spreading of the word from the people who go, how great it was, come with me next year. And that's the obvious social media and the thing that's happening.
so in looking at the popularity of these events, the big crowds, what is the main magnet? Is it the festival, the scene, the DJ, a combination of all of them? What is it that drives this to get so much local enthusiasm and people through the turnstiles?
All of it. One, a lot of people who go to the event don't even know who's playing. Their friends are going. Two, economically, people say, oh, it's $100 for the day. But you spend $80 for a good concert, and that's
true.
3 hours. Here you're spending a whole day, you're with your friends. It's like the amusement park of today. Plus, the DJs are becoming more and more mainstream. The whole spreading of it. Getter doing the Black Eyed Peas, Got a Feeling, was the beginning of it. Avicii with Wake Me crossing over, the on and on.
So really, it's also global. So it's not as if it's just North America. This is Latin America, South America, Asia Pacific. Even in Africa, they've now got a Burning Man equivalent that's now taking place there. So all of this is really growing what hopefully will be both the stock price, but also more importantly, your continued enthusiasm into all of this area.
Well, luckily, I've been able to make a very good living from things I love. And I get up every morning saying, boy, I really, really am blessed. When I was telling Ralph earlier, my father passed away, he was 53. I thought he was old. I'm a lot older than that now, and I think I'm young. And I think that it's being lucky enough to do things that I love and you have those as my vocation.
Winston Churchill once said, if you love what you do, you will never have to look for a job. And that's what you do.
And luckily.
That's it. So, ladies
Thank
and gentlemen, I ask you, have you got Shelly? Please give him a great big round of applause. One of the great pioneers of our